Alright, welcome back to another Art of War 3 replay. I'm your host, JEONG SINAH, and today we're going to be doing an exciting 3v3 battle. I'm going to be the blue rank 20 Confederate player facing off against two rank 18 resistance players and one rank 20 resistance player. So let's get into it. We've got some early game scouting happening. You can see I've turned on the filter so we can see what's happening on the entire map. We can see some early aggression from the resistance side. Red and yellow teaming up to attack my purple ally. Purple is in huge trouble here. Purple has a highly questionable build for trying to defend against this rush. This does not have the infrastructure to cover. And it looks like Purple is under some very heavy pressure. And it looks like Purple is going to quit. Purple is self-destructing in the game. In the first 5 minutes, we have just lost one of our allies. So that's pretty unfortunate. It is now down to a 2v3 at this point. I am starting to exert pressure on the green rank 18 resistance player. I need to try and level the playing field here. Looks like the green player is struggling a little bit under pressure from my forces. We can see that the red resistance player is rank 20. They have really nice infrastructure developed. They are going to be a tough player to beat. Yellow exerting some pressure on my other rank 18 ally. We are under pressure here. Thankfully, green has a half-decent army build to defend against the rush and is going to stop that rush easily. So I'm rank 4, HQ 4 at this point, excuse me. Using my vertex here to exert pressure, I'm going to take out that anti-air tower. Starting to exert some pressure onto the porcupines as well. I'm trying to get rid of green's anti-air to establish dominance over the base before I launch my assault here. So we clean up the last porcupine. Here comes my ground troops. I've got 3 Zeus tanks and a Cerberus to assault the green player. This should be enough for now to take on the green player, but I know that green is going to get some reinforcements here pretty soon from their allies, so I need to be quick here if I'm going to finish off the green player. So Zeus tanks moving in, using the vertex to support. I'm going to tell my ally to move in on that resource container. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to buy time to produce a Solaris tank. Look at the map there. We see red in full force here, moving across the battlefield. Lots of ground troops are headed my way. I'm trying to see if I can finish this green player off. So we're almost through the ground troops, starting to hit some of the infrastructure. Green is heavily outnumbered at the moment, but here comes reinforcements from both the red and yellow players. I am in huge trouble right now. I'm going to have to go ahead and retreat. I need to get my Solaris tank out. That's going to be very important for trying to press this assault. So I'm going to go ahead and retreat. Lots of resistance units in the area. I do not have the ground troops to combat, so I'm going to go ahead and regroup here. So meanwhile, just regrouping my Zeus tanks here. Looks like my vertex are coming in. We're going to do some more harassment. That is quite a bit of porcupines. Lots of porcupines from the red player. We're going to have to wait a little bit to try and thin that out. So my Solaris tank is here. We are going to be able to use that just shortly here. My ally is doing okay. They've got some infantry and a Seraphim in play. So I'm going to move my ground troops again. This time we've got the Solaris tank. That's going to be a huge boost to my assault army strength. So moving the Solaris tank in, moving my Cerberus in. So we're using the heroes to reinforce my Zeus tanks. So we're going to try and clean up as much troops as possible here. So gold vehicle attack boost goes on. And now my Zeus tanks are exerting pressure onto the armies here. This is a 2v1, 3v1 type of environment here. I do have much heavier firepower here though, compared to the resistance side. So the resistance have a lot of porcupines on their side. That is just not going to cut it. Red's doing a good job kind of hanging back and trying to accumulate a nice defensive position. My tanks are just steamrolling these two players though. Both green and yellow are rank 18. I have rank advantage over those two players. Meanwhile, trying to move the Zeus tanks in. I need to move the Solaris tank in closer, and there we go. Solaris moving back into the mix. That chain lightning is coming in so nicely to dish out a lot of damage against the ground troops. My green ally, meanwhile, making a really nice move to come in and help out, is moving ground troops across the battlefield to try and help me suppress the enemy green player. So we can see that Wasp from the red player, and red's got a Leviathan on the battlefield here. That Leviathan is headed towards my base. And here we go. charge beam goes up. We destroy a couple buildings. Nicely done. Green's coming in now. It's going to be 2v1 in this arena here. The enemy green player is struggling immensely to try and get off the ground here. So we are just cleaning up these troops pretty nicely. At the time here, I don't know that a Leviathan is headed my way, but I do know that I need to get ground troops out just so I can defend against the red player and the yellow player. Here comes the Leviathan from the red player. Leviathan's moving in, dishing out a lot of damage against the ground troops from the green player. Green does not have the firepower to combat this Leviathan. I don't have the proper anti-air either. So we're going to try and clean up this headquarters here. And headquarters is going to go down, so Green's really heavily crippled right now. I'm going to bring in my Vertex. Here comes the tactical nuke, and the nuke dishes out so much damage against my Vertex. Really bad timing on my part with the Vertex. Porcupines are going to dish out damage against the Vertex. That Leviathan is going to retreat, and I'm going to have to peel off. There's no way I can finish off that Leviathan right now. Here comes a chameleon army from the resistance side. We're going to have to retreat. We're heavily outnumbered right now. I've only got Solaris tank and 3 Zeus tanks. I need to save my vehicles. You can see in the top left-hand corner of the resource tab, lots of resources at my disposal. That was a mistake I made as well. I need to keep producing units here. So I'm busy microing my units right now, just trying to get away from the resistance army. The resistance army is going to back off. They're going to try and defend the green player. So this is going to give me a chance as well to produce a standing ground army again. Look at Green moving in. Green's doing a nice job exerting some pressure onto the red player. This is a good move. Don't like the composition build as much. It's only a few Zeus tanks and some infantry, but there is that Seraphim to support. So Green's going to be able to clean up some infrastructure there. Meanwhile, on my end, I'm trying to see if I can exert some pressure onto the resistance side to delay reinforcements getting to the red player. So these supply centers starting to get cleaned up pretty nicely. Meanwhile, we're starting to move in with my Solaris tank and a few Zeus tanks, trying to see if we can clean up the vehicles as much as possible. Looks like red is moving more troops over to green for defense, while yellow is moving over to help defend the red player. Red is continuing to produce vehicles here. Green is getting surrounded here. It's not looking good. I'm going to use that charge beam again. Nicely done. We're going to clean up a lot of vehicles there. This Leviathan's going to fire a tactical nuke any second now. There goes the tactical nuke. And now the Leviathan's going to start to retreat here. It is taking some pretty heavy damage right now from my Typhoons. Meanwhile, Green's getting slowly outnumbered here. Green's putting up a good fight with their ground troops, but those ground troops are going to get overwhelmed pretty shortly here. I am starting to overwhelm the enemy resistance player here. That Leviathan is going to go ahead and retreat. So I'm going to go ahead and move my ground troops back as well. We can see that yellow is moving in to attack the rest of the green player's army. Looks like I'm switching to a gold comet attack boost to try and exert pressure, I think, on the enemy green player. And there we go. Leviathan back in the mix along with the chameleon, but doesn't look like there's that much left to defend with. So Solaris is coming in pretty nicely. I'm just trying to keep it alive, keep it away from that Leviathan. Typhoons are firing onto the Leviathan. There we go. Leviathan is going to get finished off by my Vertex. So just continue to produce units as much as possible. We're going to clean up that level 2 headquarters. So green is pretty much out of the game at this point. Green is very heavily crippled at this point. Looks like yellow and red are teaming up to double team my ally. This is going to be tough here. Green's got a pretty large contingent here, but it's mainly infantry and a few Zeus tanks mixed in. I would like to see more Zeus tanks in the mix ideally, and less infantry to combat that JCP. So I'm flagging there to tell my ally to defend against the fog, but I didn't realize at the time, because of the fog of war, that yellow had some ground troops moving up from the top. It's a nice move from the yellow player. Green's trying to pursue that JCP. I got Vertex moving in. My original plan was to hit the prototype factory from the red player, but instead I'm going to change targets. I'm going to go ahead and hit this yellow Leviathan, try to soften the defenses for the assault that I'm going to launch. You can see this is exceptionally bad micro from the Vertex. I don't know why my Vertex didn't target the Leviathan sooner. Here comes the ground troops for the yellow player. Yellow's moving in onto the green player. I am in trouble here a little bit, so I gotta hurry up and try to take out this yellow player. So yellow's trying to defend. They've only got grenadiers in position because they sent the bulk of their army over to attack my ally. So my ally's under pressure here, starting to lose some critical infrastructure here. Meanwhile, I'm moving a full ground army in. Got Zeus tanks with Typhoons and my Solaris tank. I tell my ally defend point E. That is to defend their own base, basically. Looks like my ally is about to lose their headquarters. Red's moving in some ground troops to help with the defense, though. So Red looks like is going to combine their forces together before launching a counterattack. I'm countering meanwhile with my Vertex, coming in with the assist, just scoring some nice hits on the yellow player's army. And with that, we're going to clean up the yellow player's attack force. Red's moving in, lots of JCP and vehicles in the mix with steady reinforcements coming in from the red player. So I'm running out of juice here pretty quick. I'm going to have to retreat here. I'm going to fire the charge cannon there. And we're going to go ahead and retreat. So my last bits of Zeus tanks do get cleaned up. I'm going to need to move those Typhoons pretty shortly here as well. So Typhoons are going to retreat as well. You can see I've got a lot of resources. I need to produce more vehicles. I am going to lose my Typhoons. So Red's got a pretty large contingent there. You see Leviathan moving in from the red player. My Vertex are going to move in. We're going to target some buildings here. And we can see that yellow is trying to upgrade their headquarters, but my Vertex are going to score some really nice hits onto the headquarters there, and we're going to clean up the headquarters. And I'm going to tell my Vertex to retreat. I don't want to fight the Leviathan at this time. So Vertex are going to redock there. Red's moving a pretty large ground army against me. Zeus tank there, badly micro. That's going to be a free kill for the resistance army. I'm trying to move my Vertex in to try and soften the army up. But good chameleon timing activation from the red player. I need to get some Zeus tanks out if I'm going to defend against this JCP. So JCP is moving pretty rapidly across the battlefield. I'm trying to delay the JCP from getting to my base as long as possible, just so I can get more units out. So you can see I've got a lot of resources, but I need to have more units in the play. So Green's launching another attack here. I'm going to have to try and defend against this red attack by myself. We see the Leviathan with the JCP. It's going to be heroes against heroes. Who's going to be able to win out on this battle? Here we go. Major engagement. I'm going to use my Solaris tank's charge beam. We're going to take out some units there, but that is not going to be enough. Tactical nuke scores a direct hit on my army there. And we're just trying to see if we can fight it out with the red player. Meanwhile, Green launching their attack against the red player. They're going to take out a sniper tower, but they're taking some heavy casualties. We're going to use a gold common attack boost. We're trying to take out as much damage as possible. We need to take out that Leviathan. We cannot let the Leviathan live. We're pretty close to finishing off, but there's still quite a few units in the area for this resistance player. Looks like the last bits of Green's attack force is getting cleaned up. Green just does not have the rank advantage to overcome the JCP. We got Thors coming in as well. A couple bombing runs that are nicely placed will help to thin out the ground troops from Red. So Red is starting to run out of troops here. I do have production advantage here. It's going to allow me to keep reinforcing my attack. Meanwhile, Green is keeping Red busy. Red is unable to keep sending reinforcements to stack on for this attack here. So looks like Red's just down to one Porcupine, one Chameleon, and one Jaguar. Most of the ground troops are at the front of Red's base. Red's got a nice defensive line. Green needs to stop sending troops over and needs to regroup. So we're going to send Thors over. We're going to try to hit some of the production for the red player. We're doing triple Thors for the prototype factory just to make sure we finish it off. And nicely done. We're going to clean up that level 3 factory that probably had a Leviathan in it. That's going to cost the red player a lot of resources. So we see some ground troops moving across the battlefield there. Looks like red is going to transition their build. They're going for an aviation build, so this will be interesting. We'll see how that plays out. We've got red moving troops across the battlefield up the top, trying to see if they can hit my green ally from the side. I've got a gold scout boost on. I'm trying to get ground troops across the battlefield as fast as possible. Here comes the JCP from the red player. Red's going to regroup at the top before launching their attack. My Vertex are coming in. We are trying to keep the yellow pair crippled as much as possible. Here comes the JCP. I tell my ally he needs to defend against the JCP. So Green is hopefully going to move the troops back, and they are in fact going to move the troops back. We need to try and keep that headquarters alive, but I think we're going to lose another headquarters. So there goes the headquarters for the green player. So I'm going to split my army in two. I've got a ground contingent moving in to attack the yellow player. I've got Vertex moving in to try and support my ally here. And green is doing a good job moving ground troops back in to try and defend. Granted, it's just a bunch of infantry. Here come my Thors. Ooh, and that's a nice placed bombing run from the Thors. We take out both chameleons, and now red's army is left exposed. So we just need to keep stacking on troops there to corner the red troops. So I think we're starting to win the battle here. My troops are moving in, dishing out damage against the yellow player. We're trying to finish off yellow. Green's troops, meanwhile, are giving chase to the red player's troops. Red is going to be able to finish off this airfield, but thanks to my allies' help and my ground troops in place, we are going to be able to defend against these troops without any problem. So we're just continuing to press right now with these ground troops, trying to see if we can get to the red player's base. So we're slowly making our way through, but red is such a strong player. Red is very dangerous. We need to be careful of how we go about attacking the red player. We can see that red's got some hawks lined up. I'm going to use some Thors here. We're going to try to hit the production. Let's see how this pans out. Thors are coming in, and we actually don't destroy the factories. My Thors are maxed for rank with gold boost. So this tells us that red has very strong buildings. Hawks are doing a good job cleaning up my Thors there, and the Hawks are going to go and retreat there. And at this point, I've got pretty much full command points, so I might need to transition to Typhoon. So I tell my ally they need to get Typhoons out as well. If they do not get Typhoons out, we are going to be in trouble. We will not be able to fight this red player properly. Red is transitioning to full Hawks, and so you can see I clearly don't have the right composition to fight mass Hawks. So I'm going to need to make a transition towards making Typhoons for myself. And I believe I've started to do that already. Red, under pressure from the green player. Green's doing a good job just starting to get to some of the infrastructure. So that's going to keep the red player busy. I'm going to try and get my ground troops in as well, just so I can time things appropriately. Looks like green trying to make an impact here, but green is going to start to lose troops here pretty quick. Meanwhile, I'm moving my ground troops in. We're going to try and see if we can hit some factories here. If we can hit some factories, that's going to set the red player back. And we can see that the red player is going to need to rebuild some power plants just to get some energy to the airfields. Here come my ground troops. We got lots of Zeus tanks and a couple Typhoons in the mix, but definitely not enough. We're going to try and see if we can hit all these factories here. So we got to clean up the Jaguar tanks first, though. Jaguar tanks doing steady fire against my ground troops, but we are going to get one level 3 assault vehicle factory. We're going to get another special vehicle factory, but these Hawks are dishing out so much damage against my ground troops. I just do not have the right build to launch this assault fully. We're going to take out 3 factories. It's a nice pickup at least. It's half decent. I don't think we're going to be able to get any more factories though. My tanks are so heavily damaged, and with the last bits of assault here from the Hawks, my tanks get finished off. So good thing I got over 4,000 resources. We're going to throw in a gold production boost. We're just going to crank out a new army as fast as possible. I'm also going to tell my ally to regroup, just so they're not sending their infantry fully to die against the Hawks. And we can see that red is continuing to transition towards their mass aviation build. We're going to do a gold scout boost. We got a full army. Here comes the red player. Red scoring some hits onto the green player. And for the 3rd time in a row in this game, green is going to lose their headquarters. Green is launching another attack here. Let's see how this pans out. Okay, we see my new ground army composition in just a moment here. So we're launching a nice coordinated assault here. Green's hitting red from the side while I'm hitting him from the bottom. And I'm wanting to take the brunt of this attack here because I've got tons of Typhoons to counter this time. Look at how much damage they are dishing out against the red player's Hawks. Red is starting to struggle here. Every time they swing in for a hit, they lose a Hawk or 2. So this is starting to get to the beginning of the end for this red player. Solaris tank fires a charge beam. The Chameleon army gets cleaned up. And the rest of this video is going to be us just cleaning up the base. Alright, hopefully you all enjoyed this exciting 3v3 battle. It's kind of a grind to fight this one. Hopefully you all enjoyed it overall. Good luck with your future battles, and we'll see you in the next one.
Victory.